I'm Matt Dumont. Today I'm going to be giving you a quick peek into the ServiceNow tool titled Communities. So I want to give you a brief bird's eye view of the main functionality of the tool. There's a lot of different features involved, but I'd like to, hopefully you can leave this session with a general feeling of confidence that you could talk to a customer about the tool and explain the ins and outs of it without too much trouble. I'd then like to go into social Q&A, which is a feature of the service portal, and just mention a few ways that you might be able to mitigate some confusion that I believe clients will have with the differences between social Q&A and communities due to some similar nomenclature. And then I'm going to go into a brief demo session where I'll go through creating a forum with basic user access, and then a brief glance at the knowledge and case management tie-ins for communities. And then we'll open it up for some questions. Feel free to jump in if you have any questions specific to the slides, and we'll try to fit those in before the end of the session. So first, I thought it would be best to just give a quick summary of how ServiceNow describes communities. I'll be a little weird and just read it to you because it is pretty long. It says, with ServiceNow Communities application, connect, engage, and collaborate with your employees, customers, partners, and prospects. Your users get quick responses to their issues by posting questions, reviewing blogs or videos, and searching for previous discussions. It is an essential component of your self-service strategy along with knowledge base and service catalog. So what does that boil down to in terms of actual value add for a customer? Is it just another collaboration tool that's available in addition to the several other ones that ServiceNow has available in other modules? So I kind of broke it down a different way based on the intention, I believe, for how ServiceNow designed the tool and the plugins that it is included along with, such as CSM or HR service delivery, which it should be noted are required for communities to be installed on your system. So you actually have to have some sort of licensing for case management, or it does mention in the documentation HR service delivery, but I found little to no tie-in directly to HR service delivery. So my best guess would be that it would be kind of a supplemental feature where you could have forums for employees to interact, or for upcoming employees to interact, but it doesn't have out-of-the-box tie-ins to HR case management that I could find. So I summarized it as ServiceNow Communities is designed to complement ServiceNow's already extensive suite of collaborative tools with the power of crowdsourced incident and request deflection through customer service management, which I'll demonstrate a little bit. It does need to be noted as well that there is no out-of-the-box tie-in that I could find anywhere in the documentation or in the actual design for anything ITSM related. So while it does say you could use this tool for internal employees, that might involve some customization, or at the very least, it would just be a collaborative tool more than a direct integration with those other tools. So the best way to describe forums and topics in communities is like message boards. You also are probably all familiar with the ServiceNow community, which is built essentially on the exact same backbone as this tool. So it's pretty much just a packaged up version of the ServiceNow community that can be customized for your intentions. So the forums are just basically for organizing content, allowing people to go and find information specific to their questions and the content that they're looking for, and potentially, because it is closely tied with customer service management, you could have it be moderated by different customer service management subgroups. So you could break down the topics by specific features of a company that require support, and those groups could moderate individual forums and answer questions, review questions, and then we'll see later that they can actually convert those questions into cases, or if those questions get answered by themselves or another user and the answer is a thorough one or might need to be captured, it can also be transferred into knowledge management. Forums, as demonstrated here, can actually be nested. The two sub-forums are listed above, and then there's a parent forum. To the best of my knowledge, nesting forums is more for content organization than anything. You actually can inherit permissions down from a parent, but it is not required. So you could potentially have users that have access to the parent forum and not the sub forum, or have access to the sub forum and not the parent forum. And it's really flexible in that regard. So you could build out the structure any way that your company is most comfortable. As far as content types, the only ones that are currently supported out of the box when you create a forum are Q&A, blog, comment, document, event, and video. And these are all just content types. So when you went into a forum as a user, if you have write access for any of those content types, you could create a blog post within Zoom Management Forum, and it would pop up in sort of that activity feed and would send out notifications to all of the subscribers. You could add questions and have them answered. And as you'll see later in the demo portion, you really have control over all of the content. So you can say, this forum's only Q&A, this forum is only for event posting, this forum is only for videos. It's really up to the administrator how they want to design the content layout. As far as communication, it actually borrows a lot from existing communication features. In the communities menu, you see options like global announcement, which are actually just the same global portal announcement feature that are used by all of the portals. And you would create your announcement and select the community portal. It also adds a new forum-based announcement feature that's as well has tie-ins to other portals. So if you created a forum-based announcement, you could say, I only want forum A and forum C to receive this announcement. The announcement would get posted to an announcements widget on the side, which I'll demonstrate in the demo portion. And then you could actually also select other portals besides the community, and that announcement would appear in the announcements widget on the homepage for, say, service portal. It would lose all of its forum context and it would just be on the portal homepage, but it would actually allow you to do some cross-portal announcements that way. Subscriptions, here I need to point out, subscriptions do not utilize the out-of-the-box subscription model at all. There's no relation between the notification subscriptions feature and this feature. In fact, when you create your community, you have to specify an administrative email address for that community, and that email address receives all notifications that go out from that community. So you would end up with, in your email logs, you would see a list of emails for all different activities. They all have a single email address in the to field. And then if you add the BCC column, you'll see all the subscribers get inserted via script to that email notification. I point this out because that was something that took quite a while to dig through and figure out. And it can be a little bit confusing. I think the logic makes sense to have administrators, being aware, or a group of administrators being aware of the communications going on in the forums, but just something to keep in mind when implementing. Most of us are familiar with ServiceNow Community and their point system, or as they call it, gamification. So you can customize a lot of this. There's a whole list of out-of-the-box triggers for different kinds of achievements and triggers for points. This is just a summary of some of the major ones. The points are set up so that if let's say you post a question and someone answers that question and you mark it as helpful or mark it as answered, then that amount of points would be added to that user's account. And then if that answer was later unchecked as correct, then those points would be subtracted, and it keeps a log of the points that user has received. You can also put images in to build custom badging systems so that you can kind of encourage people to interact, making it into sort of a game to try to answer the most questions. And I think we've all seen how that plays out in the community, where there's top contributors and there's different ways of tracking who's the most interactive in a forum. And those people might be able to be flagged as power users or support users within a company. So the two key, I call them integrations, they're really internal connections to other modules. The two key features that support incident and request deflection more than anything would be knowledge harvesting and case generation. While you can kind of see the idea that forums would help to manage some of the questions that are really simple answers, you could have other users responding or power users responding to questions that wouldn't necessarily need to generate a customer service case or eventually an incident or a problem. There are going to be cases where either someone answered the question really effectively and you say, I want to extract that as a knowledge article, or maybe the question has a much more complex answer or needs some actual interaction from support, where it maybe something actually is broken or something about that person's account needs attention. So with knowledge harvesting, you have the ability to take a completed or successfully answered question and extract it from the forum and push it into a draft article. And I'll demonstrate a little bit how that works. When you create a forum, you can actually designate it as knowledge harvestable and give it a default knowledge base. As you can see here, as long as you have access to edit the article afterwards, you would be able to modify which knowledge base it goes to and change the category and whatnot. This is just a quick way to generate those articles without too much effort. And it also does link back to that forum topic. So once that knowledge article is published, any user who views that topic can actually click into the knowledge base directly from there. And then with case generation, any user that has a case management role has the ability to go and to take questions that have been posted and convert them to a case in CSM. The caveat to that is that you do have to make sure that that question is posted by someone who is a designated contact in case management. For those of you who aren't familiar with case management, you have to designate contacts that are basically on the same table as users, but they are considered CSM contacts. And that, I'm guessing that probably has a lot to do with license management and things of that nature. So if one of those users posts to the forums, then those questions have the ability to be generated as cases. A standard user would not be able to, when that flag would not appear on their topic or on their question. And I'll also show a little bit of that in the demo as well. So social Q&A is a feature of the service portal. And as soon as we go through this slide, I'm going to pull up the service portal and show you exactly what I mean. But there's a big widget that shows up out of the box on the front page of service portal that says community. And that widget has absolutely nothing to do with ServiceNow communities. It may have been a precursor to the concept of communities, but it does not in any way link out to communities. So to try to simplify that a little bit and address questions that may come up from your customers, I dug into it a little bit and found a couple of ways that you might be able to remove confusion, as it were. So when you create, when social Q&A is first created in Service Portal, it's a feature where users can go and view questions that have been asked within the knowledge management side of the system. And that by default generates a social Q&A knowledge base where all of those questions and answers are stored. And it's just a simple question answer layout in the portal that you can just review and see this was a question asked and so this has this many answers, and then you can dig into it and you can review all of those as well in the knowledge base. Communities has a similar structure in that it requires a default knowledge base out of the box. When you first create it, in the back end, a knowledge base called SN Community is created that is inactive, so it would not show up to users in the knowledge side of things. However, you can designate other knowledge bases to store the questions and answers posted in communities. And this is only for the question and answer side of things. So there's really a couple different ways that you could address the kind of distinct natures of those tools. Either you could designate social Q&A or some shared knowledge base for both questions and then both sides, both portals will pull those questions out and display them differently. Or you can just change the community widget to point to communities and say, this is where you should post all of your questions and answers. I actually want to pull up now the demo instance to show what that looks like, because it can be a little bit confusing. So on the service portal side, you can see we've got a couple widgets that pull from this social Q&A feature. We've got the community widget, and as I mentioned, if you click on it, it just takes you here to this list of questions. And I actually, for the sake of this demo, pointed community to the social Q&A knowledge base as well. So you can see that all the questions that were listed in community are posted in here as well, but they've lost all of their context as far as what forum, what topic, any of that information is not relevant to the service portal side. So you do get a single repository for that information, but it may, depending on the circumstances, it may be confusing who asked the question and why. If the forum itself has added context to the question, then it may not be immediately clear why the question was asked. You also get my subscribed questions, which is this user was subscribed because he posted this question. And that's really the function of Q&A and Service Portal, is just to give people a quick access to some possible deflection type situations where you might find a question that you had yourself and you're able to find the answer there. That all of that functionality exists in the community side, and if you do intend to implement community, you may want to discuss with the customer whether that social Q&A is something that they want to hold on to, or if they would rather just push all of that functionality over here and retain the extended functionality of the community. So that may have been a little bit confusing. It was a bit of a roadblock for investigating community at first, because the terminology is just, it throws the customers off a little bit. And you might hear someone refer to community and they're actually just talking about social Q&A, which I believe is included out of the box with Service Portal, whereas this is an entirely new module and portal. Before I go into the demo, any questions on the social Q&A feature?
Not a question, more of a comment. So when I recently, this is with the customer you helped me with a while back, but when we recently implemented this, I came to find out, and I didn't realize this initially, but all of the different widgets provided by community can be called like knowledge widgets. So you can call them within the framework of a different portal rather than using the actual community portal. And it will stay branded. So that way we were able to serve community pages or widgets within the CSM portal versus the service portal, and have it branded properly and all that. So just wanted to put that out there as for an FYI.
Great. Yeah, that's a perfect way to redirect the user without having to make too many customizations or anything like that.
Right.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, I actually was going to mention if you wanted to jump in with anything, because David actually did have to end up implementing what we did the research on for communities. So feel free to jump in. All right. So that said, let me just do a quick demonstration of creating a new forum. So I have it bookmarked, but if you wanted to get to the menu, you just type in community and all of the menu items are under that header. And then I can come over here to forums. And you'll see that all of my forums are listed here, and I can create a brand new forum. So we'll just call it test forum. Coming up with some creative names while I'm demoing. So with a forum, you have the ability to require an approval workflow for membership. If you check this box, it creates a set of permissions for that forum that is specific to only that forum. And then you can go on and edit that set of permissions to say what a user with that access can do within the forum as far as editing content, reading content, etc. If you don't, I've found through testing, if you don't specify an approval workflow, the user would click request access to the forum and then just get access. So in order to actually make this have meaning, you would want to specify a workflow, and there is a default workflow here for requesting access, where you can create your own. What out of the box, what that does is it allow you to triage who's trying to get into the forum, and then you can say, if you wanted to say that that's a full access role, then people who have requested that can have full access. Whereas what we'll get into in a minute is there's a default setting for registered and public users that those people get a base level of access no matter what to forums unless you remove that access. Let me just give a default here. And then I mentioned knowledge base harvesting. I can specify a particular knowledge base as the one that all draft articles are sent to for that forum. So now I have a test forum that you'll see is, because I'm a sysadmin over here, is going to show up immediately as another option for a forum to select. If I come back over here, I can do some more configuration to that forum. This debug forum permissions, I'm not going to get into that a whole lot, but it's pretty handy. It tells you exactly what users can do. You give it a role or a person, and it will decide what that user's able to do within a particular forum. And then you can also send out an invite. So since I request membership approval, I can send it out, and those people can say that, yes, I do want access to the forum, and then we can go through the approval process. Because I designated the enable membership checkbox, it generated this members of test forum with a default permission set, which I believe in this case is full access. You can actually go modify that. There's access types down here. You can change the defaults for all of these groups as well. The default for registered is the ability to see the forum name and the description only. So this could be modified if you want to say any registered user can view anything within that topic. It's not a secret as long as that user is logged in. Then you could modify this for that particular forum and elevate access that way. You can also give public access to a forum. And I want to actually show the difference between public and registered in a moment. But if I give full public access, then a user who is not logged in to ServiceNow would actually be able to view this forum. The caveat to that is there is a property that you can check on and off that says public users can actually edit content within forums, or they can't. And by default, obviously it's on read only. That's highly, it would be recommended against to allow the public users to edit according to ServiceNow's documentation. If you have public users adding content, that content is added as a guest, and ServiceNow does not have a way to distinguish between guest users. So you would end up with a lot of overlapping content, edits all looking like they're from the same user. It would probably not be a fun thing to try to maintain. So the best practice would be public users can maintain read access, and if you give full access to a forum, it's still read only unless that property is switched. So they could view everything, but will not be able to interact unless that user logs in. So to demonstrate that, I want to go into the terms and conditions here. Right now, there's an out-of-the-box terms and conditions document. If you choose to create one, which I would imagine you'll want to for a particular company, something that matches their own, goes through their own legal department, et cetera, then you would want to create a new document in here and make that the active document. If you do not designate an active terms and conditions, then users are left as public users unless you actually, as an administrator, go over and add the community user role to that user. That role is essentially considered registered user. If you do have an active terms and conditions, then if I go as a user who has never entered the forums before, even though I'm logged in, I should get a page like this that's going to let me set up a display name where all of my posts will show with that name instead of my current name, and this can be modified later in my profile. And then I'm asked to agree to the terms and conditions, which I can view here. Once I hit submit, it will automatically assign to that user the community user role. And from that point forward, I would have access to the forum as a registered user. So everywhere that registered is considered a level of access to the forum, that access would automatically apply to me. And now let me go in as I'm going to go in as my community admin. Abraham Lincoln is moderating my community today. So as a community administrator, the community admin role gives me the ability to do all of the knowledge harvesting, case management, etc. This is also tied to several different roles that you can give to a particular user, including some very specific ones that are just knowledge harvester. And then I forget what the case one is called, but it's just basically case generator, and that's it. Or you can let admins do it within community, or there are some roles within CSM that would let you generate cases from the forums, and knowledge roles that would let you harvest knowledge as well. So you can kind of mix and match how you want to allow users to do that. And with the knowledge side of things, you do have to contribute access to the knowledge base that you're trying to draft an article for, or it will just throw back an error. So I have this test question posted by a registered CSM contact. And if I come in here as Abraham Lincoln, I have the ability to harvest it for knowledge because it has already been answered. And I receive this error because I'm not a contributor to the IT knowledge base. But you can also see that this has already been used to generate a case because I'm not in case. Abraham Lincoln is not a case manager. He doesn't have the ability to go over directly to the case, but you would see this link and know that it has a related case here. If I go in here, a case has not been generated yet for this particular piece of content. So I could say create case, and it's going to give me a quick template to generate a new case. And then I'm going to get a tie back to that case from here. So the value in this is that you could have moderation where people are perusing the questions, going through and finding things that need to generate a case and quickly push them over to case management. You could have case managers doing that. You could have the moderators doing it within the forums, however you want to structure it for your company. That's always an option. So you do also have a quick summary here because everything is now converted to a case that can be. There's nothing on this list. But you could quickly find a list of things that could be converted to a case. The last thing I wanted to show directly was the announcements feature that I discussed earlier. So right here, I have my global announcement. This is just a global portal announcement. I can customize it to allow the user to remove it, or I can say I want this to stay until a certain date or give no expiry and just have it show up for as long as I need it to. And this can also be done across portals. And this is a feature that's utilized in the service portal often as well. The other functionality I mentioned with forum-based announcements, if I go into this forum, I designated an announcement specific to this forum and to the African Safari forum. So it shows up here. I've posted a link, and then I can go back to African Safari. I'm going to see that same announcement here, but it's not going to be available in the aquarium forum. However, I did also designate it as being available in the service portal as well. So I can see it in my announcements widget here. And this is how I described the short description. So it has that context, but other than that, you would have no clue that it's specific to forums on the other side. This just posts directly to that widget. All right, well, I appreciate your time. Hopefully that was informative. If you have any questions offline, feel free to contact me, and I hope that this was helpful. Have a great day.